afternoon. How you doing? Ooh. Okay, so I've got it on both. So I've just muted the other one so that I can just talk to you guys and you won't hear me twice. Okay, so yep, it's afternoon here, and if it's nighttime where you are, hello, good evening, and good morning, and all of those things. So yeah, hello. How we doing? Hello, Dawn. How you doing, sweetheart? From my new beginnings, my everyday life in rural Cyprus. Annette from our urban homestead, and Rebecca from suburban hillbilly. Hello, my darling. Hello, hello, hello. So, little bit of a talky one today. I have got props. Props. I say props. I have got stuff for you to look at as well that isn't me. So that might make things a little bit more interesting. So, what we are going to be talking about today. So this is episode 1 of season 4 of our budgeting lives, but we've decided that this season, for this, which is the next 12 weeks, we're going to be talking about preparedness. Okay, we're going to be talking about preparedness. And the reason that we're going to be talking about this is because the British government decided a couple of weeks ago that they were going to go and announce they have this, that people need to have a preparedness plan for emergencies like floods and things. So all of a sudden, everyone's gone, what's that about then? And I've been a little bit inundated with, messages with people going, what do we do? What does this mean? What's going on? All of this kind of stuff. Now, number one, I don't know what they're thinking. Okay, no, number one, I don't know why they're thinking. I don't know why the timing. I don't know any of that. Number two, I am not here to add to the fear-mongering that is done through the prepping community, or some of the prepping community. Not all of it, but there are elements out there who very much live on scare tactics and fear-mongering. Now, if you're here for that, you are in the wrong place. All you will hear here is practical, useful advice for people who don't have lawn and fountains. Not a lot of funds available, right? So I've had a little bit of an issue with my speech today. So if I start stuttering, I'm very, very sorry, but I am doing my very, very best to make sure that I can keep going, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at what the government actually has on its website, and talking a little bit about those things. And then over the next 11 weeks, we're going to be talking about some of those things in a little bit more in depth. But we're going to do it in such a way as it's easy and it's not expensive and it's not over the top. And then all of a sudden, you're going to realize that actually we've probably been doing this all along, but we just called it something else. Like self-sufficiency and zero waste living and, homesteading and urban homesteading and all of those kinds of things all come up into this whole thing. There is an element of this within all of those areas. Okay, so if you're preserving food, you're being prepared. Now, my mum used to always have a just-in-case cupboard. A just-in-case cupboard, right? In the pantry, in the spare bedroom that was downstairs in our house. Okay, so that's what she used to do. That was her just-in-case cupboard. Now, her just-in-case cupboard had stuff that was just in case. So it had things like candles and, all sorts of bits and pieces in it for just in case. So that was all, that was it. And that's what I kind of think, okay, about this whole thing is we're doing things for just in case. Hi, Amanda doll. How you doing, darling? Welcome in. So first off, before we go into too much of this, I want to just say, like I said, this is just a chill, laid-back chat about what the government guidance has been, what they're saying. If you have a look in the description, there are links there to not only their Prepare website, but also the Red Cross. They've also got one to Aberystwyth University that have put out a 22-page downloadable PDF leaflet, which you can print off if you wanted to, which will give you a little bit more in-depth information if that's what you want. There's also a link to one of the sites in the US as well, because, you know, I'm aware that some of you guys are over there rather than here, and I wanted to make sure that you guys had some information as well. So I'm doing good, my darling. How are you? So first off, we're going to have a look at what this website actually is saying. Right. Here we go. So this is the new Prepare website from the UK government. Okay. So, thanks, Donnie. I had to get out of my PJs because I had to go and see the doctor. So, yeah, I had to actually look like a human being rather than a grub. So, this is the UK's gov.uk Prepare website, okay? This is about getting prepared for emergencies. And in this, and you will recognize the picture from my thumbnail because I, borrowed it. In this section, it's getting prepared for emergencies, advice for disabled persons and carers, alerts and warnings, transport disruption and delays. Okay. Yeah, see? Okay. All right. Annie, I'm going to talk about that once we've gone through this, okay? Because this is the kind of thing that we want to talk about as a just in case, right? Okay. So making sure that things are in the car just in case of things like that happening, okay? So, yeah. So we will talk about it afterwards, all right? So what they've got, very basic advice, just so that everybody knows, this is very basic advice and pretty common sense stuff, to be honest. But it has kind of thrown people a little bit for a loop, okay? So we've got emergencies happen every day in the UK and across the world. They can be caused by severe weather or other natural hazards, by deliberate actions, or as a result of accidents or infrastructure failure. They can be events that happen quickly and are over in several hours, or they can develop and continue over the course of several days, months, or even longer. Below are some simple and effective steps that you should consider taking to prepare for emergencies and the disruption they cause. Many of these activities can be helpful across a range of different types of emergency. You might not be able to undertake all of these. There are lots of suggestions here that won't cost anything and just take a few minutes to do. So call 999 if you or someone else is in immediate danger. Now that's our emergency number over here. And I'm aware that in Australia it's 000 and in the US it's 911. But I'm also aware that emergency services in this country have actually set up so that if you are from another country like Australia or the US and you do ring your emergency number, it will go straight through to the emergency services here. It's been set up to do that. because obviously some people, you know, don't necessarily have the, you know, wherewithal, you know, they don't have the information available to them about what the emergency numbers are. And if you're in an emergency and you know, sometimes your brain won't function. You go, oh, what's the number again? And it'll be the first one that pops into your head. Okay, so it's fine. But yeah, if you or somebody else is in immediate danger, don't get your phone out and start videoing it for YouTube. We want you to be safe, so use your phone for what it's meant for and make an emergency call, okay? Right. Be informed. All right, this is quite important. Find out more about risks in your local area, including checking your flood risk for areas in England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. This goes for everybody. Look at some of the specific pages on this site, such as flooding and power cuts. Find out what you can do before an emergency and what you should do if one happens. Sign up for alerts and warnings. Okay, so there is an app or a setting you can put on your phones for alerts and warnings. I don't have it on my phone. I'm just going to say I do not have it on my phone. It's a personal choice. Okay, I figure that if anything's going to happen, one of several things is going to happen. Everyone I know is going to either ring me, text me, message me, or try and get hold of me on Messenger or Skype or something. Okay, they're going to let me go and know straight away. Okay, they're going to let me know. Number two, you know, there's going to be enough commotion outside that I'm going to know that there's something going on. Okay. So, yeah. That's okay. So, look at some of the specific pages on this site, such as flooding and power cuts. Find out what you can do before an emergency and what you should do if one happens. I've already said that. Okay, right. Learn some basic first aid skills. Okay, so St. John's Ambulance does have basic early first aid courses, and they are really good. Your local library might have some information about having free courses that you might be able to attend. Whatever you can get, go and do it, because it's always useful. It's one of those things that you want to have is part of a skill set and never need it, rather than need it and not have it. Okay, that for me is a really important one, is having at least a little bit of basic knowledge of first aid. Okay. Oh yeah, and that's the other option, is that your employer might actually pay for you to do the course. Okay, so that's kind of a good one as well. Because it makes you another option as a first aid point, you know, and they all have to have those. Check if your workplace or place that you volunteer has a plan for what you should do if you cannot contact them during an emergency, for example, in a power cut. Okay. So this here is for disabled people for the most part. Okay. So the Priority Services Register is set up for people who have disabilities or have certain types of equipment that during a power cut could cause loss of life, injury, that kind of thing. So it's a priority service. So if they will make sure that you have what you need to keep your medical equipment going, or, you know, to make sure that you are safe and sound first before anybody else. So to be on that kind of register is actually quite useful. It also means that if anything goes wrong with your electric in your house, they will be at your house at 8 o'clock in the morning and not 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it helps. So yeah, but do check if you are eligible to sign up on the Priority Services Register. Okay, so the link is here. Blow up your phone or whatever you have to do to see it. I don't think you need to. I think you can check it anyway. I mean, yeah, just check it anyway. All right. What are we doing? What have we got in chat? What's going on in chat? You guys having a conversation without me, man? Yeah, so Annie's car died. I did say we'd discuss that afterwards. I did. Dawn says, I read that in UK more than 90% have no way of now paying for funerals. I don't think they had them to start with, love, to be honest. There is, yeah, I think, honestly, that's the least on anybody's mind at the moment. And I'm not sure anyone's really that bothered. That I think the kind of mentality over here over that kind of thing is I won't be here to have to deal with it, so I really just don't care. You know, that's kind of the mentality I've come across with it. So, you know, but there are ways and means of taking care of things like that. So it's just, yeah. Been without a car all week and for the foreseeable. Ooh. Yeah. Right. Oh, gosh, Rebecca, that's awful. Okay, not going to read that out loud. Dawn wants to know what's happening with the Thames barrier as failed several times to my knowledge. Oh, I couldn't tell you because it's not something that I worry about. I actually don't know. I actually do not know. I really can't tell you, darling. I don't have a clue. We have our own wet feet issues up here in the north, up in York. So, but we don't really where we are have an issue with flooding, do we? No. I mean, we are 5 minutes from the centre of town. However, the river is down from us. The closest we got to flooding was when there was a water main that burst down the end of the road here. But I put a little video out of me getting some water in some buckets because before they switched the water off to fix it. But that was about it.
We're nowhere near any rivers to actually help for us.
Yeah, no, we're too far away and too high up, so that's kind of cool. Yes, Dawn, first aid is the best skill these days. So Annie wants to know, do other countries have an alert siren like Japan does if there is a threat of tsunami? Yes. Yes, they do. Any country at all that has some kind of risk of tsunami will have a tsunami alarm. That includes most of the Pacific Islands. That includes New Zealand. And I'm aware of the one in New Zealand because they used to test it every now and again where I used to live when I was a teenager. So I've heard it. And it is loud. Oh boy, is it loud. Thankfully, though, where we were living, we were on top of a cliff. And we would have watched the tsunami. And it probably would have been at around about our feet level. Or possibly a couple of meters lower, maybe a meter lower than that. But we wouldn't have necessarily been hit by it, but we would have been affected by it because where it would have hit, we had to go through there to go to town, and that was the main town area. So, yeah, that would have been a little bit different. But yeah, if there is anywhere that has issues with tsunamis, etc., they will have a siren for that. I have a live-in first aider. My hubby is an ex-paramedic. Well, there you go. So many off-gridders now for many reasons. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, your house can still flood. All it takes is a broken pipe. Yes, absolutely. But it's something that can happen and is more likely to happen over here during a thaw in winter when you didn't realize your pipes were frozen. And then, all of a sudden they're not frozen anymore and you've got water coming through your bedroom for some reason. So yeah, that's when it's likely to happen here. But yeah, so then they've got this area on make a plan, work out the best escape routes from your home if there is a fire, or what you should do if your home floods. If you live with others, discuss this with them. It's always important. Like, okay, so when I lived in Australia, a lot of our houses were on stilts because we were, we lived up in Queensland for a lot of it. And even in Newcastle, we had houses that were on stilts or, that kind of thing. So if we had to have a plan available, if there was a fire or there was flooding, and we had both of those things occur in our homes. So, one of the places that I lived, our house was 6 feet above the ground on stilts, and we had water lapping on our floor. So it was rather a big flood, and it was not good. It was not fun. And that brings with it a whole heap of other issues, which we won't go into right now. But it meant that we had to be prepared for those things as well, because those kinds of things, for example, okay, so one of the things that we had to deal with was snakes, okay, because it was Australia, we had to deal with snakes. That meant we had to have snake bags on hand, and we had to have snake sticks. We also had to have small pieces of wood to encourage the other ones that we didn't want to catch back in the water. So because snakes, spiders, rodents, all of those kinds of things will flood to where they can actually grip onto, and that's an issue. So yeah, so we had to deal with that. That was fun. So anywho, right, so if you are in Australia and you have to deal with that kind of thing, think about that if you're in a flood zone. Okay. Decide on a meeting point for situations where you might not be able to return home. This could be a community hub if you have one nearby. This is very important. So if you know where your schools are, if you know where your community centres are, places like that, local emergency services will set up a hub, and it will generally be in one of those places as a safe space. So it'll probably either be in a school that has a big auditorium, or it will be in a local community centre. There could be several set up. It just depends, right? But know where they are. These places generally are spoken to beforehand and have the facilities and the plans available. So if you talk to anyone who works there, they will probably be able to tell you if they already know whether they are the kind of community hub that would be used in that kind of situation. Yeah, floods bring many dangers, bringing dangerous animals in, but most dangerous is metals and items in the water and sea. Yes. Well, and flooded sewers. Yes. Well, where we lived, our biggest issues were freshwater crocodiles and bull sharks, which decided that it would be a good idea to see the countryside because, they could. So when my kids realized that it wasn't a good idea to get the boogie boards out and get in the floodwater when they saw that the log that they were seeing was not a log. Yeah, that was fun. Anywho, moving on. Write down your important phone numbers on paper and store them somewhere easy to find in a power cut. Include the phone number to report a power cut. And the numbers are here, 105 in England, Scotland and Wales, and 03457 643 643 in Northern Ireland. I really hate to say this, Northern Ireland, but I wouldn't remember that. I wouldn't remember that. Would you remember that as an emergency number? I would not remember that. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. Oh my gosh. So yeah, okay. But what I will do is I will show you something else just very, very quickly. We're going to flip off this for a second because I want to show you something. Right? Is that showing? Yes, it is. Right. This is a really cool little information ID card. These are readily available on Amazon, and you are able to put all your family's individual information. They come in a pack of 25. So if you have friends or family that you are responsible for or are within your home or whatever, you can have these available so that you can put them in whatever you would need to take with you. So you have all the information available with their medications, with their, illnesses or whatever, blood type, all of that kind of stuff is available to be put on a little emergency medication card. The other thing is these are really good to put in the car, in the glove box. Okay, so the little glove box, having these in there for the individuals that may or may not be in that car will actually help emergency services quite a lot. Hi, Anne Hayes. How are you, darling? It's good to see you. I always had an SOS bracelet until it got stolen when I went into a coma on the street. Oh, my God. Yes, they are very good for go bags. Now, I am not going to use the word that you use there because I find that it's a little bit, it kind of a bit, but I call them go bags. And there's something that I want to discuss about go bags. So it is something that we're going to do an entire week's live on, okay, is the go bag. And the reason that we're going to do that is because I think people get a little bit confused about it as well. The in-laws are finally left. That's awesome. Okay. So we're going to go back to this. So, yeah. Very quickly, touching on that subject, any of us who have had children and had to take them out as babies and have had what tend to be known as nappy bags, that is a child's go bag. That's it. Okay, whatever you put in that nappy bag, that is that child's go bag. Apart from their favorite teddy and blankie. Okay, that's pretty much that's it. That's how easy it is. Okay, there is nothing untoward. There's nothing weird about it. There's nothing strange about it. All you would do is do the same thing for an adult without the nappies, and made for that person. So that's pretty much how it works. It's that simple. Okay, so I don't want anyone getting upset about it, but it is something that we are going to go into in greater detail in another episode. Okay, so we've got all those important numbers. Use our downloadable and printable household emergency plan. Woo! How exciting is this? I'm going to have I didn't realize this was here. To record this information in one document. Okay, cool. Oh my God. Are you serious? How many? Okay. All right. To record this information in one document, you could keep this with other important documents such as passports, birth certificates, and insurance policies, so it's easier to gather them quickly if you ask to evacuate the house. Okay. So what I want to show you next is right. What I want to show you next is this. I'm just pulling it up and I will show you this. Okay. Where are we? Woo! Share this tab. This here is a fireproof document box. Okay. Now, if they're easily grabbable. I mean, like I've just pulled these up on you know, on off Amazon because it's just quicker for the thing. You don't need to do that. You can do that on any site at all, and you probably might find it a little cheaper somewhere else. Okay, but this is a really good little document file to have. You can put all your important stuff, any medical information, your passports, your birth certificates, all of that, marriage certificates, divorce letters, all of those kinds of things, your house papers, all of that stuff into that box. So you're only grabbing one thing. Okay, you're only grabbing one thing. And then, but it's also something that's a little bit more sturdy and it's made for on the run kind of things. Okay, and you don't need to worry about all your documents disappearing and all of that, going up in smoke or floating off wherever, you know. Hi, Gail, honey. How you doing? Okay, so, all right, so we'll stop sharing that now, and we're going to go back to this, okay? Oh, flip, everything's disappeared. Oh, no, now I'm big again. Whoops, hang on. I'll get better at this, I promise. Oh, my gosh. Some of the info for younger generations that we have done for years, we always had children's information films at school, basic what to do. That is now listed for adults. Yes. Okay, now there is a really simple explanation for that. It has taken 3 generations for the people in this country to become so reliant on supermarkets and just being able to go and buy whatever, that they haven't bothered to learn the basics of what we grew up learning. So learning to cook from scratch, learning to preserve food, learning how to change a tire, learning how to put petrol in the car, learning how to do DIY basic things, right? Some of them can't even change a light bulb. Okay, so this is why our videos, when we do stuff like that, seem to do amazingly brilliantly. So yes, these websites are actually necessary because as much as, for the most part, people of our age know what we're doing because we've been doing it forever, and for us it's called life. Hi Elaine, how are you doing, darling? For many others it's not, and it's very daunting, and they're kind of sitting back now and going, okay. There was a little splurge during the lockdowns, etc., where people started learning different skills and things like that because they could. And there was a little bit of a rise in people doing preparedness things and that kind of stuff, or wanting to have things just in case. Okay, so you know, that's kind of where it's all come from, and why there's a little bit of a whoosh now towards it. Okay, so let's get this shared. Right, so the downloadable and printable household emergency plan, I have put the link to the prepare to this page down below in the description. So if you need it, you just scroll down the page and you will find the household emergency plan. I can't give you a link to it because, okay, I'm going to show you why I can't. Okay, because seriously, yeah. I'm gonna have to, what? Why is this not popping up? Is that showing it's got a window? Yes. Okay, here we go. Right. It's a Word document. It's not even a PDF. It's a Word document. Okay, now I understand the reason why they've done that is so that you can edit this part here. However, if you're in an emergency situation, these things need to be filled out, probably by hand. So people are going to print it off anyway, and it's probably a better idea to do that and to write it out by hand rather than to try and change this. However, if it wasn't a PDF rather than a Word document, it would probably be, you know, a little bit easier to cope. Got disconnected for a second. Oh no. Oh no. That's not good. Okay. So yeah. Good one, government. Cool. Well done. Word documents again. For God's sake. How have they got working for them? Oh my God. Okay. Emergency contacts or medical information to your mobile phone, which is great. Often called ICE, which is in case of emergency, for those of you who don't know, or medical ID on smartphones, so that the emergency services can access this information without having to unlock your phone. Yeah. It's possible. Some of them do, some of them don't. Okay. But it's better to have a hard copy. Honestly, it is better to have a hard copy than it is to have on your phone. Because, say, for example, God forbid, you're in an accident, okay? Your phone could have been smashed. They're not going to be able to get the information that they need, but they are going to be able to go in your glove box and go and find what you have in there. Or, okay, guys, so you know the film canisters we used to have back in the day? You can put all that information in there in one of those in the bottom of your bag, or those little cards that I showed you just before have one of those maybe in your phone case, because like I have one that's got, you know, leather case that's got spaces for cards and things, or have them in your wallet or whatever you carry, you know, so that they can get hold of that kind of stuff. All right. Talk to children about what to do in an emergency, including how and when to call the emergency services. The Stay Wise website includes information and resources on emergencies aimed at children. It's wonderful. Okay. Yeah, actually. Okay. Cool. It looks to be set up by the actual services themselves. So that looks like a really good resource, actually. You can also help them to learn their home address and, if possible, a parent guardian's phone number. Practice these regularly. I used to do that with my kids all the time, and they didn't actually get to go to school until they knew the address, the phone number, and where I worked. Okay, so yeah, that's what they did. Yeah, having a binder with all irrelevant information in it would be a good thing to have in your homes. Absolutely would, which is why I showed the fireproof document box, because it's a really good place to actually hold that kind of stuff. A more likely emergency is all phones, computers, etc. stop and no one has anything with them that they need or have prepped. Okay. No worries, Donnie. You take care, darling. Okay. So, yeah, no, I get that. And it's, you know, you're not always going to have access to your online information or your electronic information. And if that stuff goes, then you need to have it on hard copy. So on paper, on card, in a folder, a hard printed off copy. My hubby has no idea about anything to do with Centrelink, Medicare, etc. I'm now going to make a binder. That's a really good idea, love. We have two. We have one for Tanny stuff and one for my stuff. But some of the stuff I would like to condense into one folder. So it's, you know, I mean, like there's ones where we've got bills and we've got old medical letters and stuff like that, stuff that isn't necessarily relevant now, but we keep just in case for records, but it can be better to have the most important things like birth certificates, marriage certificates, documents of divorce, all that kind of stuff, passports, any, paper part of your driver's license, all of that kind of stuff.
There's no paper part now.
There is a paper part.
There's no such thing as
There is a paper part.
There's not.
There's a paper part and you get your card thing.
Paper parts back in the 80s, in the 60s.
Really?
Shows you how old you are.
You can go off some people. Remember when I said about divorce papers? Yeah, that one. Right, make sure they're in your folder. Okay. All right. Check your child's school or other childcare provider has the correct contact numbers for you in case they need to contact you during an emergency. Your child's schools should have plans and procedures in place to deal with different types of emergencies. For example, for severe weather, loss of utilities and fire. Yeah. They did at our kids' schools. You, not anymore. Helen, you can't tell me he's right. You can't do that publicly. Oh my God. Stop it. I bow to your greater wisdom, oh dear. Okay.
Really?
Yes, well, there you go.
I thought you knew about that.
You got your apology for the decade. What more do you want?
I was going to say that's the only one I'm going to get for the rest of my entire life. Not for a decade.
I said publicly, you were right. Okay.
I'm always right.
I ain't saying it, I'll get banned. Right. Prepare your home. Complete an online home fire safety check to help keep you and your home safe from fire. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so it's an online thing. For those of you in the UK, have a look over wherever you are. All right, Anne, take care. But yeah, this one's an online one, which is, I don't know, it might be a giggle. Set a reminder on your phone to make a note on your calendar to check your smoke alarms at least once a month. Find out more about fire prevention and fire safety from Fire England or Wales or whatever, Scotland. Know how to turn off your gas, electric, and water. You'll need to turn these off if you have to leave your home due to flooding or for other reasons, such as if there's a leak. This is where it helps if you do have disabilities, to get yourself on the priorities register, because if you don't know how to do that stuff, they will get to you really, really fast. All right. Okay. Check the right insurances in place for your home or business, for example, flood insurance. Now, this is a little tip that I'm going to tell you guys because it was told to me by my sister who used to work for insurance. Okay. Flood insurance does not cover you for water damage done by firemen putting your house out. So if there is water damage that is done because they've been putting a fire out in your house, you'll be covered for the fire damage, but not the water damage. So you need to have water damage separate to flood damage in your house. Okay? So some people say, oh yeah, but it's fire and flood. No, they are the outside sources. You have to actually have separate insurance for the damage caused by the water or whatever is needed to put the fire out in your home. Okay? It's a separate thing altogether. So there you go. Check these things. because they're tricksy. These are insurance people. If you live in a flood risk area, find out more actions you can take to prepare your property. Have a look at the hot weather, cold weather, and storms pages for more advice on how to prepare your property. And we got to talk to others, talk about the advice on this website, and pass on information about the support available. Help your friends, family, neighbors, and colleagues to undertake the simple actions on this website if they can. Swap contact details with neighbors and consider creating an instant messaging group or other closed online social network for your street or building. These can be an important source of information and support during an emergency. Ask your neighbors if they might have additional support needs during an emergency. They may have additional medical needs, be new to the area, be digitally excluded, or not speak or read English well. Talk to them about the help available and how you can support them. Make a plan to check in on neighbors if an emergency happens, particularly if the power goes out. Now, if you are someone who was already into this, there is a community element, but there is also very much a big privacy element as well. The last thing that anybody wants to do is make themselves the target in any kind of crisis situation. Okay, so what you want to do is, for example, talk about random things to do with it, very roundabout things rather than very, very detailed. You don't want to allow the people to know what you have and what's available, but you can offer your service and time, if that makes sense. That way, you're not kind of leaving yourself open. All right, there's security, and we will look at that later on down the line. Get emergency supplies. Consider what supplies you and your household might need during an emergency lasting a few days, such as a power cut or water outage, or situations where you are advised to stay at home or to leave your home for safety reasons. It can be helpful to keep these items in one place in your home, and ideally somewhere easy to find if the lights aren't working. If you are escaping your house due to a fire, you should not take anything with you at all. You should ensure you have enough of the medication you need to keep you going for a few days. Okay, there's a little bit of conflicting information here, really. Okay, so, it's saying don't take anything, but on the other hand, now I understand that if you're leaving for a fire, but I tend to have, this is where the go bags will come into play, and we will talk about those next week. Okay, because that's where you want to have stuff like that, is spare medication and things that you're going to need to get. That way you don't have to, and you keep them stored by the front door. Keep them stored by the front door somewhere, or somewhere you would go past to get to your quickest exit. Check exactly what is covered in flood insurance. Aunt had flood insurance, did not cover unless the water went over the roof. She had a 2-story home. What? Yeah, see, that stuff. And did you also know, not many people know this, but did you also know that if you write an amendment on your insurance policy when they send it to you and you send it back and it's all signed off, you've signed off on it, and they don't change it, you have included something on your insurance. Okay? And it's legal. So just be aware of that as well. So if there's not something on the policy that should be there and it's not there and you think it should be, write it on, because they can't change it. Okay. Pack a few essential items in your car boot to make sure you're ready in case of getting stuck in wintry weather.
Yeah.
This can include a torch, in-car phone charger, warm clothes and blankets, high visibility clothing, jump leads, food and drink, and a shovel for snow. It can also be helpful to keep a first aid kit in your car. There is something else that's very useful for cars. It's not useful if you've got an electric car. It'd be absolutely pointless. But fire extinguisher, a little fire blanket, just in case you're in a situation where it's the other kind of weather where it's very, very hot and your car may get overheated. There may end up being a small engine fire. So if you've got an electric car, I wouldn't do it. But if you don't have an electric car and you have a normal sort of gas, diesel, whatever, I would have those things in my car as well. Okay, put together an emergency kit of items at home. This could include, sorry, I got the burps, hang on. Battery or wind-up torch. Torches are safer than candles. This is true, but still have some candles. Portable power bank for charging your mobile phone. You can get little solar-powered ones, which are really, really good. Battery or wind-up radio to get updates during a power cut, or car radio can be used. However, in severe weather, it might be safer to stay inside. Spare battery for torches and radio, and a backup battery for any medical equipment you rely on. First aid kit or some first aid items, including items such as waterproof bandages, waterproof plasters, bandages, a thermometer, antiseptic eye wash solution, sterile dressings and gloves, medical tape for dressings and tweezers. Can I just say, I just got some of those little strip thermometers for the grandkids. I think they sent me 10. They came in a pack of 10 and they cost me like a couple of quid. Only cost me like 2-3 quid off, you know, the one that shouldn't be named that we've been using earlier, you know. But have a look, because they're really cheap and you get quite a few of them. It's actually quite useful because then you can have them in little packs, you know, throughout. And they don't take up a lot of space. They don't take batteries, and, you know, they're great little things. Torch is a flashlight for those of us in the US. Yes, it is. Okay. Eye wash solution, sterile dressings and gloves, medical tape for dressings and tweezers. Absolutely. And if you are someone who needs to have dressings, etc., make sure you have plenty of those. Hand sanitizer and wet wipes for hygiene purposes when the water is off. Bottled water. There is no standard figure for this, as emergencies can vary in duration and people use different amounts. A minimum of 2.5 to 3 litres of drinking water per Oh no.
I think the internet's gone.
Am I back?